Welcome to Southern Steep, the public health and social justice podcast brought to you by NASDAD, a nonprofit, nonpartisan association mission to end the intersecting epidemics of HIV, viral hepatitis, and related conditions. Much like brewing stronger tea, this platform aims to brew a stronger community by centering community leaders' voices and their innovative work in the Southern United States.
All right, sweet. All righty. So everybody, welcome to our episode of the Southern Steep. I am one of your favorite hosts, if not the favorite, childish plug, Jacobi Hunter-Wright, pronouns he, him, his for today. And we have like an amazing show. And I am joined by my other host, Rodderick, who will introduce himself. Rodderick.
Greetings, everyone. I am runner-up for probably your favorite host on the podcast. You know, I got that deep voice action going on over here.
Yes, indeed.
How y'all doing, folks? Good to be here. Rodderick Sheppard, pronouns he, him, his. I'm a manager here at NASDAD on the prevention team. Pleasure to be here with you, Jacobi.
Oh, thank you. Come on, runner up. I love all that. First, second, third, fourth, it don't matter. All righty. So how's everything going in your world, Rodderick?
Oh God, it's finals for me right now. So I'm like I'm just trying to get through finals and pray for their Lord these grades. The reflection that I need them to be on my transcript.
Listen, I remember those days. I'm in the middle of a third chapter for this dissertation, and when I tell you she's wearing me low, but we are going to press forward. I know you're going to push through with those grades, and I'm going to push through with my edits, and all will be well before the holiday season.
From your lips to God's ears.
And here we go. All righty. So I don't want to belabor the issue or the point of why we're here today. I am going to politely read our guest for today's bio. We have someone really, really exciting. Kyanna Parsons. So Kyanna Parsons hails from Harvey, Illinois, which is a suburb of southern Chicago. And that's where her journey in community service and advocacy began to kind of take shape. She's currently serving as the Early Intervention Services Outreach and Prevention Team Lead at Live Well Community Health Services, and is really leading the charge in outreach and prevention initiatives. Kyanna has found her calling in this role over the past 2 years, and despite being new to the field of HIV, Kyanna's dedication and passion for making a difference in the lives of others has really propelled her into this space, where she feels a deep sense of belonging. Kyanna's role not only involves professional expertise, but it really embodies and intersects with her personal mission, which is really to empower individuals and raise awareness about crucial health services. Her work extends beyond the office walls as she really actively engages and activates with local communities, advocates for education, as well as access to resources, as well as eliminating HIV stigma. Kyanna continues to make a difference in the lives of others, embodying resilience, compassion, and really putting forward a commitment to effectively and positively changing the community within her and around her. So let us give a round of applause for Kyanna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Welcome to the show, Kyanna. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
All right. So today's gonna be really easy breezy. It's gonna be a conversation amongst friends. We're gonna take a deep dive around some of the things you're interested in, some of the amazing work you're doing with your organization, and allow you to tell the folks in podcast land and podcast world, what have you been up to? Like, what is Kyanna interested in? What are the amazing things she has going on, so on and so forth. So if you're ready, I'm ready. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. And with that, I am going to pass it over to Rodderick.
All right, all right. Hi, Kiana. It's a pleasure to be in the space and get to know you a little bit more intimately. All right, so Jacobi just read your wonderful bio and indicated that you are new to this work in a sense. Can you tell us a little bit about what really brought you to this work and what keeps you in the field of HIV?
Well, I like to think that HIV found me and it chose me, this work, this field. I was in a coffee shop one day and someone asked me just a little background information on me. In 2021, I was a survivor of a Mayfield. I was working at the candle factory at the time, and so in January, I believe it was, I was at a local coffee shop, and someone said, "Hey, Kyanna, how you doing? What's been going on?" And I told them, I said, "Oh, I'm just looking for a job." And there was a young lady in there who I later found out she worked for Live Well Community Health Services, and she said, "Well, what do you do?" And I told her my background. She said, "Step into my office," and I gave her my resume. I sent her my resume, and she sent it to her boss. I replaced her rather for the role that she was in. She was moving into a linkage position, and so her role in prevention was open. And so I wound up taking that position. And so what's kept me here is I just love it. I've always loved working with people, helping people, educating people. I like that this job is not a traditional type of 9 to 5. You know, it changes, it varies from day to day. So I enjoy that. And I enjoy getting out talking to people from various backgrounds and just the knowledge that I've gained. And I think the biggest thing was last year, I was able to go to the USCHA conference in Puerto Rico, and the information and just the community was something that was like, okay, this is the work that I want to do. I really enjoy it. And just to see the impact. And then in my area, you don't hear a lot about HIV. So once I really started learning about HIV, especially in the African American community, I just knew that this is something that I needed to stay with to help get the word out as much as possible.
Alrighty, alrighty. Oh wow. Yeah, I had the opportunity to attend USCHA for the first time this year, and it was an amazing conference. It was definitely like a huge family reunion because I've been working in the field for about 10 years now. So a lot of people that I've met in the span of this 10 years, were there, and it was a good time. It was a good time. So I'm happy you were able to get into spaces like that, especially early on in your introduction into the field. I'm certain you were able to network and meet a lot of people. And then, those are some of the people you probably will begin to build a community with, and you will see and you become familiar faces with. And, it's always refreshing to have those faces in the community. Um, all right, so I'm gonna go on to our next question. So, how has being a woman of color informed the way you approach the work in your area?
Well, in my area, I live in Western Kentucky. So as a woman of color, we're the minority. And when I say minority, I mean the minor minority in this area. But as a mother, and I have 2 teenage daughters, I have, sons as well. I'm very passionate about it. Very passionate about getting the word to everyone, but in particularly into our community, into my community, just because of the stigma around it, and because the African American community, there's a lot of things that we just don't know, we don't have access to, and things like that. So the agency that I work for provides so many services for individuals living with HIV, but the prevention department, we just have so much to offer. And so really, I'm just extremely passionate about it for everyone, especially children, but especially for people of color.
I love that. I love that. The passion in the work is always what I will tell people is what will lead you in your work. I think it's easy to get caught up in some of the politics of the work and some of the different nuances that you'll encounter in like navigating the space. But if you let your passion lead you, like you'll always be steered in the right direction. Like I always let my passion lead me. And HIV stigma is definitely like huge in the community. And I think stigma also impacts some of the miseducation that is around when you talk about, some of our communities not being properly informed on sex and the lack of quality sex education. Sex education is not just about, we want to prevent HIV and STI infections. No, there's such thing as pleasure-based education as well, when people can learn about sex and learn how to make sex pleasurable while also, protecting their sexual health and, managing their sexual health. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And then finally, what are some of the issues you think will come up during your new year in your area? What are some of the issues that you're interested in working in terms of the work?
Work that I'm interested in USCHA this past year. A lot of the sessions that I attended were those that were dealing with the alliances with faith-based organizations, and really in the African American community, you know how important our faith-based, our churches and things like that are. So I'm really working on some programs or ways to build a partnership with the faith-based organizations in order to get further in the community to help to get rid of the stigma. For World AIDS Day this past Sunday, we attended one of the local churches, and we even had a young lady who's living with HIV. She was able to get up and she talked about her experience. Her pastor for HIV Awareness and Faith Day, her and her pastor recorded a short video for us, and they played part of that, and then we were able to get up and give some information. So that's my biggest thing. I want us to be able to increase our testing in the African American community and just increase our testing in general. But I'm really looking forward to partnering with our faith-based organizations as well as some of our schools. But schools are very hard, especially with some new legislature that went on here. So it's very hard. But even after school programs, mentoring programs, I really want to get this information to our children, get them, like you said, with the pleasure base, get them with the condoms, make sure that they know how to use the condoms and things like that. And just let them know that, there are options. I really, in 2023, with all the advances that science and technology has made, we should be ending the epidemic. There's no reason that we're still transmitting HIV and other STIs and things like that when we have so much available that was not available 20, 30 years ago, the knowledge, but we just have to get out and talk about it. So that's my biggest thing, is to get into the churches and get with these kids.
So Kyanna, you really touched on something you touched on a couple of things, and thank you for that. That really pulls on my own personal heartstrings. And I love the fact that you have this notion of building out and building into partnerships, i.e. with, faith-based communities, with educational systems. I love that. And coming from good old Texas, those are things that I have historically tried to, get into myself. And you're right, legislation does create and sustain barriers and challenges and all that jazz in terms of partnerships. But I love the fact that that's the way that you're looking to, you're looking to address stigma in some of those spaces through partnership. And so I think that's a segue into our next conversation, which is really rooted in health equity, right? So could you tell our listeners, what in terms of health equity and addressing stigma, what does that look like for you and the communities that you serve? Is that strictly partnership, or what are your ideas on how you would like to address health equity and reduce stigma?
It's more than the partnership, but that the partnership does play a major part. Our agency, a lot of people don't know about our agency. Our agency, we provide services to individuals living in Western Kentucky and Southern Illinois. I think we have about 26 counties in total. And so a lot of people don't know about our agency, and our agency has been around for 28 years. Okay. And there's still a lot of people who don't know who we are. They don't know what we do. They're learning more, but I'm trying to make sure that the information is out there. So that's what is the partnering is great, because that's a doorway for us to get into, but we also need more resources. That's one of the things for health equity. And a lot of it is that the stuff is there, but our people just don't know about it. I heard somebody say, if you want to keep something from us, you put it in the book, because we don't read, right? But that's not the case anymore. We're reading, but a lot of us just don't have that access. And then there are, the systemic barriers, that things are not available to these people over here, and things like that. So there's still a lot of that is not going any way or anywhere. So now it's my responsibility to bring it back to my community, to bring it back to whoever I can. And that's definitely where the partnerships come in, because now that I have the information, I can go in and say this, and now we can come together and say, okay, this is what we need. And now we can try to go to the legislature, go wherever we need to go to demand for these things. Or even here at my agency, there are different grants that are allotted for different things. So now we can say, okay, we need this money to give this education to this group, or, but the biggest thing is we have to be able to get the information we need to know. So that's why I am constantly trying to find people, like you said, when I went to the USCHA, networking with people, learning as much as I can, making those partnerships and just, things like that, connections with people, so that I can see what they're doing at their agency or what they're doing in this area and what'll work here, and just learning and trying to figure some things out. Because health equity is just, I look here in Kentucky, in our little town, I live in Paducah. I volunteer at our local warming center, and mental health. And I think a lot of times we don't realize how these things intersection. We don't realize how mental health and then the drugs and HIV and all this thing, the harm reduction, how all work on the mental health. If we can work on this, then the other areas will decrease as well. But that's just not getting done, because in some areas they say, oh, they don't have a homeless problem, or they don't have a drug problem in there, and a lot of times the people at the top don't know what's going on at the bottom. So
I completely agree.
Very difficult.
And I love the fact that you invoiced intersectionality. It's like you are literally reading my mind. So I want to pivot a little bit to talk about some questions or some things that come up for me in terms of like intersectionality. How do you think that addressing stigma will kind of enhance our HIV prevention and care efforts? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that is a thing to push us to ending the epidemic, because once we get rid of that stigma, now more people are going to get tested. More people are not going to be ashamed and scared to disclose their status and things like that, and that's going to be the key. The problem is, look at all the people who don't know that they have HIV, because they're ignorant to it. They think that, oh, if I get HIV, I'm going to look a certain way, or I'm going to feel a certain way. And that's just not how HIV works. So once we get rid of the stigma, we can educate everybody. Then I just really feel that stigma, getting rid of that, is going to be the key to ending HIV.
When I tell you, I definitely agree. And it's so crazy because I work, and I've worked with you all before. We came and did that CBO visit, myself and Nicole, who's part of NASDAQ. And it was such, especially like with me being from the South, and how they consider Kentucky the South. It was such a culture shock to be in a rural area and to learn that you guys, like, your services intersect not only within like areas in Kentucky, but y'all like bridge over into another jurisdiction in Illinois. And I just really found that profound. But it's also like, it's a professional culture shock to see kind of like the realizations and that actualized stigma, that perpetuated stigma that still exists in the South versus the Northeast, where I do work as well. So just to hear you talk about some of the more race-based stigmas. They kind of intersect with, gender, access to care, medical mistrust in your direct service area, and how, really targeting partnership, resources, education, to really enhance the work. I really love that idea, and I really agree with that. So I really appreciate your thoughts on that piece. So yeah.
And I'll say that even for me, until I got into this work, I was ignorant to a lot of things and in a lot of ways as well. I just didn't think that people, I was like, oh, I'm not dating, a guy who MSM. I'm not dating a man who loves another man. I'm not a sex worker. You have all these preconceived notions in your mind, these myths, these misconceptions about what HIV is and what it looks like. And so now when I went to Puerto Rico and DC, and I met these beautiful women who stood up and say, listen, I got it like this and I got it like that, or however they contracted HIV. And I'm like, oh, and the most profound thing was when I heard, who was it who said it? She's from Florida. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I can see her face though, but she's last year in Puerto Rico. She said, I may be HIV positive, but you all are HIV possible. And I think she said she got that from Dr. Tatiana Moulton. But when she said that just hit me a whole nother way, because we are all HIV possible. And so if we remember that, then that will help with the stigma.
Thank you for that, Kyanna. We're going to segue into a section that we ask all of our guests about the South and what do they love about the South. And so I'm gonna start off by just asking you, what are some things that you love about the South?
I said I'm from Chicago, right? And I am, but I have always wanted to be from the South. Okay, I just dreamt of being a Southern Belle. And so I went to college in Louisiana. I went to the Grambling State University. Things I love about the South, I love the community. When I first went to college in Louisiana, people were speaking to me and I had no idea. I said, I don't know these people. Why are these people talking to me? But just the friendliness of it. Of course, the food, I like to eat, honey. I love the food of the South. I love the rich history. I never knew what Juneteenth was until I went to Grambling. I had no idea. And just for me, the HBC, most HBCUs are in the South. That whole experience, I get to see all these beautiful, intelligent African Americans doing a thing. When you're in other areas, they're in places of esteem a lot. We're not the leaders of things, or, often the times we're kind of pitted against one another. Whereas here you can see the community and the way people, you can really see that the village, the African proverb that says it takes a village to raise, you can see that. So the South, and of course I love the weather, baby, because I'm over the cold, wind, all of that. They can have it. I don't like it. So I really love the community. I love the friendliness, that Southern hospitality. It is a real thing and I love it.
Wonderful. Yeah. First of all, well, shouts out to all of the HBCUs out there, all the HBCU students, all the HBCU graduates. At the time of this recording, a lot of students are actually going to finals, i.e., we just talked about that. So best of luck to all the students going through finals right now. And yes, we talk about the food and the rich history in the South all the time. I always talk about my experience of going to New Orleans for the first time this year and just like being able to book a Black-owned tour guide and to get some of the African-American history of New Orleans. And just the place is so rich in history. So yeah, the South is a place definitely rich in history and has some delicious food. Okay, so now that we talked about like what we love about the South, like what do you want to see for the South? What do you want to see for your community as a whole?
One of the things, of course, as wonderful as it is and everything, the systemic racism, the health disparities, all these things that separate us that don't allow us to be our best. I would love if we could just do away with that, the hatred, so many. Yes, we've come a long way, but we still have so far to go. So that there's still quite a bit of separation, between the races and things like that in the South that I would like to see change. Just us even coming together a little bit more. I know, that's one of the things I love, but I feel like it can even be even more, even better. Yeah, I think that's pretty much things I like to see change. Really just the racism. So I can be the best, but because of that systemic racism that just won't let me go, because all they see is the little black girl. Even though I'm the best, I'm not able to share all my gifts and things like that. So those are really the biggest things about the South that I dislike.
Yes, I too, I wholeheartedly agree and ditto on that. The systemic racism has to go, especially because, like, after a while, like, you see racism, like you said, systemically in different systems, from education to healthcare, to the care that people get, primary care services, or even in the hospital services. Like, you see it in a multitude of lights, and in some cases, it can have some very devastating consequences. So yes, we need to rid of the systemic racism that causes health disparities and health inequalities in the South. So I'm definitely with you. And I do agree, we have come a long way, but we do have we got a little bit of a distance to go. There are certain areas that, I think we have been able to be successful in and, grow as a society. And there are areas that we are completely missing the mark. So thank you for that again. So what are some up and coming things you have going on? How can folks contribute and support your efforts?
That is a good question. I am really, like I said, I'm developing a program here for faith-based organizations and partnerships. That's the biggest thing. And I'm also going over the reasons. I like that program that Vive has, so that I can really reach out to African American women, looking at working with, I'd like to work with more of the HBCUs and just getting in there and talking to the kids, they're adults, but the young people about HIV. I remember I have a friend who works she moved over to harm reduction, but we know they all, and she said how she got into HIV in the first place with BET back when they had what was the campaign? I can't think of the name, but it was definitely when I was in college. It was about HIV. And so she said that's how she originally got in. And so I think that things like that should never go away. So definitely do some things like that and get more of us in, because of the rate, that we are getting HIV in comparison to other races. So, but it's not as many of us that are in the fight and things like that. So letting people know, I think that's one thing, letting people know, letting young people and older people, everybody know that this is an option. This is a growing field. There's a lot that's still to be learned and still to be tackled. So this is definitely some work that people can come into and be successful and have a job where they're making an impact. And when they go home, they feel rewarded in the evening. They even though sometimes it can be stressful and things like that, but this job is rewarding to me. I do feel like I'm making an impact, like I'm helping someone or something. You have other jobs, you just going and you go home and it's nothing. But this job, I think about who've told me, and I just want people to have an open mind. That's one way that people can help. Have an open mind. When you see something saying testing, if you already know your status, encourage someone else to get tested. Okay, because y'all know their story. But educate yourselves. We Google everything else, we research everything else. Learn about it before you get to talking about it in a negative way. And that's going to be helpful for myself and for all of us that are in this. Even if you just Google, how do you get HIV? Things like that. and share it. Let's teach our children. I'm very intentional about how my children interact with other people in general, whether it is someone with cerebral palsy or ailments that you can see. But, I remember growing up, I had a cousin who had cerebral palsy, and people used to stare, and I would taught my kids compassion and things like that, because these are things that have to be taught. These are learned things. We have to learn them. And so if you're compassionate and then your children see you be compassionate, or your nieces and your nephews, let's not teach hate and things like that.
And so I love, you've talked a lot about collaboration, and I love that because it's going to take you collaborating with multiple tiers of communities. And when we talk about intersectionality, like that's what that kind of looks like, meeting people at the different areas of where, certain things intersect with their identity, and you'll be able to maximize your outreach efforts by doing that. And I will say, as you begin to collaborate with, universities and college and HBCUs, definitely reach out to members of D9. I'm a brother of the wondrous Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and me and my chapter brother or frat brother in my chapter, we both have been working in sexual health for about 10 years, about around the same time. And we are definitely looking to incorporating programs at our school on sexual health to get that conversation going. We have, because we work in the field, we already know who to contact. We have connections to bring within the school, and to hopefully begin to build a relationship with those partners and have them integrated into the university system. So definitely reach out to your members of D9. They can definitely help you, reach more people, so people can receive education, so people can know about what items are available in their sexual health toolkit, as I like to call it. There's a variety of things that we talk about within your sexual health toolkit. So perfect. The final thing I want to ask you is, how can people get in contact with you?
People can get in contact with me via email, and that's K, as in kangaroo, Parsons, Parsks, at livewell, which is LIBWELLCHS.org. I'm on Facebook. My name on Facebook is Kyanna Lou. My phone number here at work is 270-444-8183. I'm at extension 2132. And that's pretty much it.
You heard it here, people. That's how you reach Kyanna. Kyanna, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to be in the space with you and to talk about an important issue that impacts the South. And I just love the conversation, especially of talking about working with youth and in the school system, HBCUs and everything. So this was really, really, really dope. So I'm going to hand it over to Jacobi to do a section that we do on a podcast called Southern Charm.
All right, y'all. It is time for one of my favorite segments, which is Southern Charm. And today's Southern Charm is Destination Tomorrow. And so Southern Charm is where we highlight the work of someone or an organization that is charmingly and effectively impacting the South. And on today's episode, I really want to discuss Destination Tomorrow, specifically Destination Tomorrow South. Now, Destination Tomorrow is a trans-led and operationalized grassroots agency and the LGBTQ plus center that is systematically and centrally located in the Bronx borough. And it has since opened a second location in Atlanta, Georgia. It's in their belief that no individual should have to leave his or her neighborhood to access LGBTQIA plus specific services, and that those services should be accessible. Their work emphasizes economic, social, and mental empowerment through a variety of holistic educational, financial, support-based housing, and health programs. To learn more about their work and how to support their work and their vision, please visit https://destinationtomorrow.org. All right. And it is around that time where we are coming to a close. Certainly not goodbye, but more of a see you later. You can certainly catch more episodes on NASDAQ's platform, and also other episodes which are streamed on NASDAQ's platform. And that platform is www.nasdaq.org/CBO Hub. Roger, do you want to have any last words for now?
No last words. Just again, pleasure to be in the space with you all. Until next time.
All right. And until next time, I am Jacobi Hunter-Wright.
And I am Rodderick Sheppard.
All right.